Let's jump to the Roto-World player news, where we heard from Kellen talking about the role that Alvin Kamara will have.
Alvin? Yeah, premier player in our league. Obviously, you're really excited to have him on your side, Paul, and on the other side. He's just a big play waiting to happen. Great person, great player, great teammate. He'll be a big part of our offense.
He's obviously getting older, that position. You worry about touches for him and all, or how do you sort of work out?
All running backs, as you go through the season, there's awareness to, it's a longevity game. The season's very long. You understand every player is going to be different. He's been able to vary the ball a decent amount over the last couple of years, and we'll just kind of see as we go through the season.
We kind of forget now because of how the Saints season tailed off, but Alvin Kamara was an absolute monster to start last year. He looked as good as ever. Do you expect that his role will be a little bit reduced as he gets older now?
Nah, because who's there to threaten him at this point? Kendre Miller got a little run last year, but not enough to where you can say, oh, he's finally taking over. Alvin Kamara, top 5 fantasy running back in points per game last year, so no. I'll take those 950 rushing yards that he had last season. He's not a guy who runs for 1,300. He'll pick that up in the receiving game and go get you 70 to 80 catches.
Yeah, they just don't have a lot, and Kellen Moore will throw to his running back, and so, yeah, I mean, I think the jury's still out as to whether or not Kendre Miller's any good. Right. I mean, you forget about who else do they have? I assume they're going to draft somebody. They have to draft somebody this year, but I do think for at least one more year, Alvin Kamara is going to be the focal point of that Saints offense that is likely going to be trailing and dumping off to the running back.
There's just so many touches there for him, and it's not going to be all replaced in the draft. Even if they took a wide receiver early and they add a running back, which I think they will. It's Alvin Kamara's show.
Yep. Okay, also at the owners' meetings, we heard from Aaron Glenn, new Jets head coach, talking about Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson.
Well, I think mentally he's in a good place. But I would say that we have 3 running backs on this team that we're going to utilize as much as possible. They're all big men. They can run. They're violent. They're physical. So I think once we get a chance to get the players in and see exactly how they operate, I think every player is going to be happy with the way that we go about this offense. And I think he's going to be one of them. When it comes to Garrett, we all know what Garrett can do. Garrett is a dynamic player. So I'm looking forward to being able to get him the ball as much as possible.
Connor, I remember when Breece Hall, final game against the Patriots 2 years ago, had 37 carries.
In the snow.
Yeah, in the snow.
With nothing on the line.
I still don't understand why that happened, but do you think that he will return at some point to being a workhorse back that he was expected to be coming into this year?
I don't know. He hasn't been able to stay healthy, and he's played, but he has not been Breece Hall. And I thought the contrast and answers there, and I know we take these all with a grain of salt, was very clear. This organization is wildly high on Garrett Wilson. They want to pay Garrett Wilson a lot of money. They want to feed the entire passing game through Garrett Wilson. I don't think they feel that way about Breece Hall. They like Breece Hall. They know when he's healthy, he's an explosive player. I thought him going out of his way to bring up Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis wasn't BS. I think it's real that, like the Lions did to an extent, they want to feed their running backs and they want to get the best version of Breece. But I think there's been more questions in that organization about Breece recently, while there's no questions about Garrett, and I think that says a lot going into the season.
Do you have a sense of the health of Breece's knees?
And that's the thing. He didn't participate in OTAs last year. It was kind of flip a coin how explosive he was week to week. Steeler game, he looked great, and then other games, it's like, what? That's not Breece Hall. So this happens with running backs. They get banged up, and I think that the days of expecting Breece to be this 25-touch guy could theoretically be behind us.
Last year, 16.6 touches per game. That was fewer than Rico Dowdle or Kareem Hunt, just to give you a comparison. As much as brilliant as Breece Hall has been at various points in his NFL career, he has yet to have a season with over 1,000 yards rushing. He has yet to have a season with more than 5 rushing touchdowns. And so it's a lot of can he be involved in the passing game with him? Then you think about Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis and just some of those other guys. And so are we looking at Sonic and Knuckles and whoever the third lame character of that? Tails. Is it Tails?
Breece Hall might be Tails.
Yeah.
Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails. Are we looking
Knuckles.
at that? Are we looking at some version of that here in New York? Because, I think you're right. I read Aaron Glenn's answer between the lines the same way you do.
I believe
Then Fields gets the
everything
ball.
I believe everything Aaron Glenn is saying. Let's remember too, this is a defensive coach right here. Remember, once upon a time, the Jets went to back-to-back AFC Championship games with a defensive coach in Rex Ryan, a quarterback that threw more interceptions than touchdowns, and they still made it that far on the run game and defense.
Yeah.
So now while he's saying we got 3 good running backs, and he's saying he wants to use Garrett Wilson, that just goes to show you, like, they just want to, and he's also said we want to let Justin Fields play quarterback. We want to let him do what he does, but we want him to play quarterback. All of this spells like not good for Breece Hall in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Justin Fields thing, that's the one that can go either way, right? Yeah, you can make the argument like, well, he's going to take some carries away. They're going to do some bootlegs around the goal line. There's going to be some opportunities there. On the other hand, like, because of the mobility and speed of Justin Fields, that's going to open up some lanes for Breece Hall.
Very
and
true.
again, if he's fully healthy, like, all he needs is a Cris and he's gone. And so, it remains to be seen. I currently have Breece at number 11. I'll be honest with you. I made the ranks after he's going to lower a little bit, my next rank, because that was telling.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the owners' meetings, we also heard from Vikings head coach, friend of the show, my best friend, coach of the year, Kevin O'Connell, talking about bringing in Jordan Mason.
I think the big thing we learned about Aaron Jones last year is he can be an every down back. He can be, he was a featured part of our offense. But what we wanted to make sure that we were doing is we were using him in a way that allowed him to be his most impactful self when he has historically had that 1A, 1B backfield structure. He could be a total game changer every time he touches the ball. So it was always about bringing Aaron back. Huge leadership role on our team, really assumed that from day one. But what are we going to pair him with? I think Jordan's going to bring something to the table, in those short yardage situations, those goal line situations, goal to go, where we've really left a lot to be desired as a football team.
So Aaron Jones is never getting a touchdown again. Is that what I just learned?
Not by the goal line.
No.
You're going to have to make one of them
It's going to have to be
Aaron
a 10.
Jones
Yeah, exactly. It's going to have to be from the 10-yard
What's
out.
the level of concern, 0 to 10, on Aaron Jones based on Jordan Mason coming in?
You know what? I'm going to say 3. Because, I don't think you ever draft Aaron Jones saying, well, this is a guy that's getting 25 touches a game, right? And last year, what unlocked Aaron Jones, you heard Kevin O'Connell, head coach, coach of the year, friend of the podcast, Kevin O'Connell say, he proved he could be an every down back last year. They used him in the passing game. To me, Aaron Jones is like a top 20-ish running back. But to me, that's more about, hey, Jordan Mason is going to have flex appeal than it is about concern about Aaron Jones, because Aaron Jones was never going to be a top 10 guy.
Right.
He's just not built that way. And so, you just feel a little bit better about Jordan Mason than you did about Cam Akers or whatever. But, last year he had 300 touches. He had over 300 touches last year, and I don't think, so if he gets 280 this year, 275, Aaron Jones will still be fantasy productive as an RB2. Jordan Mason, a very viable flex. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.